Hey everyone.
Hi everyone.
Hopefully we're live. Sometimes YouTube takes a minute to get live, so we're just gonna wait a
Oh,
second
we have
here.
someone. Hi.
Okay, we have somebody in the
Hi.
in the in the room. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Hi everybody, and welcome back to our channel.
So today we're gonna be very awkward because Brittany and I don't usually sit on camera with each other, so please bear with us. What's the live gonna
Today
be?
we're going to talk about 13 reasons why you shouldn't move to Mexico. And so, number 1.
And just want to preface this with we are living in Mexico. We love Mexico. So none of these things that we're about to talk about are necessarily things that we would probably completely say would break the whole idea of moving to Mexico for somebody. But these are some of the things that we were able to find when we really had to sit down and think about it. So just keep that in mind. We're coming from a place of loving living here so far, but these are some difficulties that may cause you guys to have some trouble if you want to acclimate to this type of a country.
So, our first reason why you shouldn't move, or you may not want to move to Mexico, is tipping, the tipping culture. So, as you mentioned before in some of our other videos, when you go to the gas station, you tip the gas attendant. You cannot, or at least you're not allowed, not legal, to pump your own gas in Mexico. It's kind of like New Jersey in that sense. So, you pull up to the gas station, and there's people who are outside, the attendants are waiting for you, and you tell them what you want, you tell them how much you want, you want them to fill it up or whatever, and then afterwards you tip them. That's the tip. That's the tipping culture. So that could get a little frustrating after a while. Not just the gas tipping, but also the tipping at the stores. You, oh hi, hello,
Hey, welcome, John.
hi
Welcome,
John.
welcome.
So another time you have to tip is well you should tip, I guess, is when you're at the grocery stores. So like the person may pack your bags, the Sallies, the people who were out of the parking lot will try to tell you where to park, and so
Welcome, John. We're happy to have you here.
welcome John. So you might want, like today we went shopping and we tipped the guy that was telling us how to get out, even though we already knew how to get out of the parking lot.
It's funny. So like in the United States, you become a I shouldn't just say the United States. We're from New York, right? So in New York, you pump your own gas, you park where you want to park. You're self-sufficient in New York. When you come to Mexico, everyone's trying to look for work, which is fine. I get it. It's cool. But if you're parking in a lot, you're going to end up having to tip the guy because he pointed where you can park, even if you didn't park there or don't want to park there. And then when you're leaving your spot, he's going to run over to your car and he's going to start backing you out. And if you're not used to this, you could actually end up getting into an accident because it could be so frustrating having somebody screaming at you or whistling while you're backing out of a spot. So the culture is very, very different. And we'll get more into culture later on. But yes, like Brittany said, it can be annoying. It can get on, certain days, if you're from the United States and you come here, certain days they're gonna get to you. And you're gonna feel it. You're gonna feel that culture shock. It may not be all the time. Welcome to everybody, by the way.
Hi everybody.
Welcome to everybody who's here. Hablas español un poquito. Mi español es no muy bien. Brittany es
No.
muy... Más o menos?
Más o menos.
Sí. It's so. Well, welcome again to everybody who's here. Thank you all for being here. And please, if you're enjoying this, give us a like on the video so that we know to do more lives in the future. And if you have any questions or comments, let them fly in the chat. Thanks, John. Thank you.
Reason number 2, and this is a big thing. A lot of people, I think, they go to Mexico and they think, oh, it's a cheaper country. Everything is cheaper. But that's not actually true. In fact, we found that a lot of things are actually more money in Mexico, or at least the same cost as in the United States. So, some things that we're talking about are cars, like buying a car, electronics. For example, I was going on Amazon.com a few weeks ago and I wanted to buy another USB charger. And I couldn't believe the prices that I was seeing on Amazon. They were so much, it was so much money, like $30, something like $30. I mean, like
For a cord.
For a cord, for the USB thing, not, you know, and electronics also include, you know, TVs, appliances. We're talking about like
washers, dryers, stuff like
you know,
that.
we were at Home Depot today. We were looking at printers. Printers are hundreds and hundreds of dollars.
And not,
you know,
not to say that it's not like this in the United States where we live, but we have noticed that a lot of the stuff is more expensive. So like Brittany mentioned, printers, hundreds and hundreds of dollars. In the US, you're going to find that too. It's a very general category, right? You have the best printer and then you have the worst printer. So huge discrepancy there. So keep that in mind. But at the same time, these are some of the things that we've found are the case. Some things are just real, like gasoline. Did you mention gasoline?
gasoline is also one of them.
Gasoline is much more expensive. We actually found out that Mexico has their own gasoline here in Mexico. But they send it to the United States in order to get it refined so that you can use it, and then they ship it back here to Mexico. So that's one of the reasons why it is so expensive here. So you're spending a lot more money to fill up your gas tank. Like we have a Prius and it's so good on gas. In the United States, we would have to try to spend over $30, you know, in order to fill up our tank. Over here in Mexico, real easy.
Just to give you guys an idea about gas prices, they can be, we've seen prices, you know, throughout Mexico anywhere from about like 70 pesos maybe per liter. Remember, in Mexico, gas is not per gallon, it's per liter. So right now, it's even more because the US dollar to the peso, it's really going down.
Yeah,
now,
I think it's like 17 pesos to a dollar or something like that. So that's pretty low. It hit like an all-time low just recently.
One US dollar to peso, just to give you guys an example, is 17 right now. Today's May 8th, and so it's one US dollar equals 17.81 Mexican pesos. So let's say that the gas, let's just say it's about 22 pesos for a liter. So 22 Mexican pesos is $1.24. And then you have to take the liter, you have to look up how many liters are in a gallon. And so there's we'll say 3.79.
Close to 4.
3.79 and 3.79, and we just said that if it's 22 pesos, that would equal $1.24, so you times that by times $1.24, comes up to about $4.70 for a gallon.
$4.70 a gallon. Good math. Good job.
Yeah. So it's so it's more expensive. Like appliances, maybe like microwaves, dishwashers, things like that. Appliances are typically more money or close to about the same price as the United States. You know, it depends on the brand and everything. But
yeah.
Yeah, generally.
Yeah, in general. Again, there's always going to be
General.
exceptions, but this is in general from what we've seen.
Another thing I want to talk about too, talking about more expensive, is the price of food. Now you may be thinking, well, Mexico should be cheaper, right? Because it's cheaper than the US. Well, if you're shopping at stores like big name stores, let's say like Walmart, Chedraui, that's it's
like a Walmart.
Big store here. Aurora Bodega, things like that. Soriana, HEB, that, you know, it's American prices. And depending on what you're getting, and I didn't mention this before, but if you're buying something that's imported from the US or from another country, it's going to be more expensive too.
Right.
So keep that in mind too if you're planning on coming to Mexico.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, like the other day, I picked up a box of tea off the shelf, and it was a box of tea that I, yes, it was a box of tea that I bought in the past in the United States. It was a sleepy time tea. And I think it came out to like $10 for a little box of tea. And in the US, it would probably cost like $5. So it was like a huge shock in terms of that. I need to stop grabbing things off of shelves, thinking this is the US, and putting it into my cart. I need to stop doing that. Yeah, but anyway.
Yeah. Another thing that does get really frustrating, and you may not want to move to Mexico, is the water situation in Mexico, which we'll talk about that. Let's just talk about one thing, which is, as we probably all know, you cannot drink the tap water that comes out of the sink in Mexico.
Unless you filter it.
Unless you filter, that's the other thing. Unless you buy a water filtration system, or you buy the garrafones, the big jugs of water.
Right.
So
yeah, if you're in the like back in the United States, when we drank water, when we used water for cooking and all that stuff, straight from the sink, we had a filter. Keep in mind though, we had a filter in the US too. I never drank tap water, even in the US. But if you did, you wouldn't get sick. Here in Mexico, you drink the tap water, you're very likely to get sick. The residents here don't drink the tap water. And you know, when you come to Mexico, you start to realize how much you're actually spending on water, because you are scrutinizing every little bit that you use. In the United States, water is something that we take for granted over in the US because it comes out of pipes. You're not filling up a huge bin on your roof full of water. You're not paying for water the same way. Here in Mexico, when you drink the water, you actually like can picture yourself just drinking money. You know what I'm saying? Because you are buying every bit of water flat out that you get. Like you can see where your money is going. And so, yeah, unless you have a water filtration system in your home, you end up buying bottled water. You're constantly drinking bottled water. And that's something that's frustrating to us. I don't know about you guys, but we're used to not having to do that. So we're actually looking into a system. We're looking into getting a system, whether that be an on-the-counter system or some kind of a system like what we had back in the US, where we had something installed in the home in order to filter the water.
Or things like we had to call the water guy because the water got very low. And check out our short about that, because in our short, we actually show you how dirty, Joe shows you how dirty the, what's the water in the...
Yeah, so like the water, we have a well, we'll call it a well for now, right outside the house. Water comes in from the street sometimes, right? Sometimes. But more often you have a water truck come to the house. And again, we have this on film for you guys. You guys can see this on camera. And the water gets pumped into this well. Now, that's a huge cement pit in the ground. Am I saying that in the United States everything is perfectly clean and crystal clear and perfect? No, definitely not. But you definitely can see a lot of disgusting stuff down there. You know what I mean? It's kind of exposed to the elements. You have mold, you have mildew, you have dirt, you have all this stuff. And so, yeah, you want to filter your water if you're drinking here. Or I know people in Mexico who actually cook with the tap water. I think they're crazy. The water here is hard, at least over where we are in Morelia, in Guadalajara, Tlaquepaque. Those areas, the water was very hard. Upstate New York, the water is hard. If you leave water sitting on a spoon here and it goes to dry, you see the elements that dry up, that cake up on the spoon here. Like the spoon will be white. So that's another difference in the water thing. So between the disgusting stuff that gets into your well and the way the water is in general, how hard the water is, man, you're in for a shock. A lot of the time you'll be taking a shower, your skin starts to get dry. And that's because of the different type of water that's over here.
And another thing you mentioned too about the water is that the country's running out of water.
Yeah, so I told Brittany to put this on the list because a lot of people might not know about this. Now, I read an article the other day saying Mexico, the country that's flooding and running out of water at the same time. Now, in case you guys aren't familiar, Mexico gets tons and tons of water, which is great. The problem is that the infrastructure, and we'll talk a little bit more about the infrastructure later, but the infrastructure, even though they get tons of water here because they have rainy seasons and they have dry seasons, the infrastructure doesn't always allow for the water to be used by the general public, by the states, by the country. So because the infrastructure isn't built up to actually use the water that comes in at the capacity that is coming in, this country will literally flood. Depending on where you are, obviously it'll be different, but this country will flood, and all that water that could have been used for the people ends up going to waste because the infrastructure is not built up. So that was another thing that, had to do with water that I told Brittany to put that on the list.
Now, number 4 is safety. It's no shock to anyone probably that Mexico is not the safest country to live in. And it also, Mexico in general is not the whole country in general is not the safest place to live in. Merida is, I think, the second safest city in North America. But aside from Merida, we talk about Mexico, 95% of Mexico, I'll say at least. Yeah, and of course it depends on safety, depending on, more particularly, I guess, some states are safer than others, some cities are safer than others, depending on where you're living. And so that might be something that you may want to keep in mind. We're not trying to spread gringo fear or anything like that, but we just want people, if you're watching or whoever's watching, to not just come here and think it's all sunshine and roses. That you do need to be careful, like most places in the world, you do need to be careful.
Yeah, lately I've been feeling safer here because I've been reading, I keep up on the news in the United States because it's important, we're still part of the country, so you might as well keep up. But lately I've been feeling safer here. And we're in Morelia right now, so that's located in Michoacan. And so that's definitely not considered one of the most safest places within Mexico. Again, Brittany mentioned all of Mexico, when compared to other countries, is not the safest. But in Michoacan in general, that's considered one of the most dangerous areas in Mexico. That's where we are at. But man, looking at the news lately from the United States, I feel much, much safer here. And I did before we left too. I felt a lot safer. Because in the United States, it seems like you have a lot of senseless violence. I mean, you got little kids getting shot going on their neighbors' lawns. I mean, have you guys seen the headlines? It's insane. At least over here in Mexico, I'm not standing up for any of the stuff that happens here, because violence and the horrible things that we see in the news, I mean, no matter where you are in the world, they're disgusting, right? But the stuff you see here is more along the lines of this drug dealer got pissed off at this drug dealer, so he shot, and there were innocent bystanders around. You know what I mean? Crime in U.S. big cities is on fire. Lunar eclipse. Thank you so much. Yes, it's really disturbing. It really is disturbing. I'm turning on the news and I'm like, what's happening? You know what I mean? Texas specifically, but all over the place. Philadelphia, Texas. I mean, you got little kids getting shot for going on their neighbors' lawns. Like, get out of here, man. Like 6-year-olds. So at least you don't hear about that stuff happening here. No. The stuff you hear happening over here is like this guy pissed off this other guy because he's in his territory, and they had a little shootout in the mall or something.
So yeah, we might do a video specifically on Morelia in the future about safety. Like the day, I'll just say this little brief tidbit. The day that we actually got here, that we came to Morelia, there was actually a shooting where 5 people were shot, not too far from where we're living. I believe that those people did not die. They were injured, of course. The plaza over here.
But they were still shot.
They were shot. It was terrible. And then a few days later, there were some cars that were set on fire. So just to give you guys some examples, and I'm sure there's much that we don't know what's going on, but in general, yeah, that might be something you want to keep in mind.
Yes, let me just say, in case you guys don't know, cartels, you probably do know, cartels have a big hand in when it comes to Mexico. Are they always going out causing trouble and mischief? No, not always. Sometimes they're helping the states that they're in, like literally helping the states to run. Now, I'm not saying that the cartels are good. I'm not saying that they're bad. I'm not saying anything about it.
Hi.
EHC, hola, hola.
Hi, hola.
Bienvenidos, mi amigo. So I'm not standing up for the violence, not standing up for the crime. The crime is different here. I love Morelia. Have you tried the carnitas in Quiroga? Yes.
Oh, I did. I did. Just vegan.
Soy vegano. Brittany tried it though. Mm-hmm. Brittany tried it. Yes. Yep. We went with our friends and we had a great time over there in Quiroga. Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah. Beautiful little place. We did a video on it. We touched on the food, just a small amount, but yes, it was such a privilege to be there. We can't wait to go back. But yeah, so anyway, guys, it's a dangerous place. It is, but the whole world is dangerous. As mentioned, the United States over there is on fire right now. People are getting murdered for no reason. At least over here, there's reasons.
Sometimes.
There's reasons. Here, like I said, the cartels are here.
Yeah.
So they cause mischief. In the United States, you got people who are trigger happy, sitting in their living rooms waiting for somebody to drive up their driveway by accident so they can shoot them. I'd rather be here, to be honest with you.
Number 5, and this is interesting. This one, police corruption. I put number 5.
Oh, I didn't even know this was on the list.
Number 5, I'm sure there's corruption all over the world, of course, but Mexico has a reputation for police corruption with bribery. And the reason, from what we've been told and understand, is that the police officers don't make a lot of money here. And so their bosses, they say, we want this amount.
Yeah, they need to make money for themselves and their bosses. Try them, they're vegan. Yeah, okay. Thank you. Maybe one day. They got some really great vegan tacos over here in Morelia, though. Morelia, getting off the subject real quick, we're probably gonna lose everybody who's in the chat, everybody who's in the room. Tons of vegan stuff in Morelia. That's all I'll say. But anyway, yeah. So what were we getting at? Oh, the police corruption.
So the police corruption. So make sure you check out Joe's video he did on that one. How he got pulled over. They searched the trunk.
But so I remember now. So what Brittany was saying was, here the police don't get paid a lot. Okay. No surprise, right? They don't get paid a lot, and their bosses actually tax the police. So the police need money for themselves, and the police also need money for their bosses, so they can pay their bosses. So it's not the best system. Now, in the U.S., does this happen? Of course it does, but it's less likely to happen. Less likely. Not saying it's impossible, because if you look, you will see there have been people who've been robbed by U.S. police for their money, for the contents of their trunk. You know what I mean? And they never see that stuff again. So it happens in the United States. I'll take petty corruption in Mexico any day over the state of the U.S. right now. I agree. I gotta be honest with you, I agree.
Is that everywhere in Mexico?
Is that everywhere in Mexico, just certain areas? EHC, that's everywhere in Mexico. As far as the police and how they get paid, That's everywhere in Mexico. Now, keep in mind, I just want to say something. We have not been pulled over ever and been told to give somebody money. Every time I've seen someone get pulled over, every time I've spoken to somebody about their experience getting pulled over by the police in Mexico, every single time, those people who were pulled over did something wrong. Now, I'm not telling you that you'll never get pulled over for no reason. I'm not. But every single time I've heard of it, the person driving was breaking the law. The cops saw them, pulled them over. And so when they pulled them over, they basically tell you two things will happen. One, they'll tell you, listen, you broke the law. You need to pay the ticket. I'm going to take your license. I'm going to take that license back to the police station, and you can go pick it up when you're ready to pay that ticket. That is something that happens here in Mexico, right? Or the second thing that'll happen is the person in the car who broke the law will get scared. They'll start freaking out. They'll hear about how, oh, I heard the police are corrupt. I need to pay them. And they'll take money and give it to the cop. And the cop's probably going to take the money and give you your license back and say, have a great day, right? So for the convenient price of 500 pesos, you could be on your way if you break the law here. For the most part, right? Not everybody. You'll have good cops and bad cops, bribery and no bribery. But those are some of the scenarios you're going to see here. But never once have we been pulled over for breaking the law. And when we were pulled over, it was at strategic checkpoints in the road where they were pulling over other people as well. And never once were we told that we need to give any money to the police. The day that happens, I will get on this camera and tell you.
And a reason that may also be is, I didn't put this in the notes, but Joe put a dash cam in the car.
Right. So we've been pulled over a couple times. Again, not pulled over necessarily, but stopped at checkpoints. And every time we've been stopped, I know the police see the camera because you can see them see the camera. I got a big, stupid looking camera.
It's very big.
It's huge. It's like this big. You can't not see it. And I got it big on purpose because they got cameras that you could put like this and nobody will know they're there. But I got a big, stupid looking camera before we left to come here and drive to Mexico because I was not coming here without a camera. Forget about it. And when we get pulled over, the police do see that camera. Whether that impacts how they react with us or not, I can't tell you. Just want to check the chat real quick.
Red light tickets are $65. Speed camera
Lunar eclipse. Red light tickets are $65. Speed camera tickets are $45. City stickers are $100. Plate stickers are $135. Property taxes keep going up and up. But yet police protection is going down. And you're talking about in Mexico. I feel like I live in a third world country. I feel safe. Oh, you feel safer in Mexico. You're not talking about in Mexico.
This is in the U.S.
You're talking about in the U.S. Okay, gotcha. Yeah, it's been a minute, so I don't know what the prices are for stuff over there in the U.S. But yeah, no, it's crazy. I cannot be happier being here in Mexico. I really don't miss anything from the United States besides my family. I'm telling you, I love being here. And so far the police, just to get back on the subject of police, they've been great so far. Every cop that we see on the street, every person that we have been pulled over by has been friendly, kind, and they've seemed genuine, to be honest.
And
thank you, by the way, for your input, everybody, in the comments. Thank you for your input. And if you have any questions, thoughts, or comments like Lunar or EHC, please drop it over in the comments.
US.
Gotcha, Lunar. Yeah, gotcha. Yeah, the United States, it's constantly changing, and it doesn't seem like it's changing for the better.
Number 6. are the tolls.
Oh, the tolls are crazy here.
They are. So again, remember how we talked about if Mexico's cheaper? Okay, for some things Mexico is cheaper, right? But that'll be a different video. This video, we're talking about why you shouldn't. And I'm not saying this is a big reason why you may not want to, but it is definitely a reason, well, it may discourage you. In Mexico, there are a lot of tolls. A lot. I mean, I forgot how much we spent even just driving over here, but it may have been like, I don't remember. I don't want to say the wrong number.
And that's not even going to bother you. When Brittany's done talking, I'm going to tell you why the tolls will really bother you, but I'll wait for her to finish.
Yeah, they're just expensive. Like, we're not talking about like a 50 cent, the toll. We're from New York.
Oh, EHC, let me tell you, when you get hit with a $15, $20 toll over here in Mexico, and then you drive about 500 feet, and then you get hit with another one, it's like, I just spent $40 on tolls in a matter of less than 5 minutes.
There's toll after toll after toll, and it's not even like you're going over a bridge, though. Like, in New York City, you're going over bridges, you're going over major things. So it kind of makes sense in New York City to me because it's known to be expensive in New York City, right? I mean, and you're going over bridges. Over here, it's like just, I don't want to say stupid, it just is. Like, you're just going on a regular road. You're just going on a regular thing. It's nothing special. It's not like even all the time like interstate.
You're not going over a special bridge. You're not going interstate. The tolls in New York suck, right? The tolls in the United States in general suck. We're still getting tolls from Texas coming in. We were there for like over a month ago, driving through, over a month, like 2 months, close to 3 months ago. We were driving through Texas. We're still getting tolls from them. From back then, but let me tell you, the tolls here are different. You're getting bang, boom, 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 toll after toll after toll. You might spend $60 on tolls driving 2 hours, and all you're doing is driving on a broken down road. Now, I told you you're not gonna like the sound of that, but I told you you're gonna be upset when I tell you about the tolls, a little tidbit about the tolls that you guys might not know about. The tolls here in Mexico, right? There was a certain point in time where Mexico instated tolls. Every state had tolls, and they did it in order to improve the road that you're driving on. At a certain point in time, Mexico handed over those tolls, those toll booths, handed those booths over to private entities. So if I came along and said, I want to buy that toll, I bought the toll. It has nothing to do with the state. It has nothing to do with the city. It has nothing to do with Mexico. It's me. Joe owns the toll. And guess what? Joe doesn't want to take care of the roads on the toll road. So you're going to have a beat up, busted up road, and you're paying Joe. Those tolls, before they became privatized, were supposed to disappear. They were supposed to take them away. So really, you can actually legally pass through those tolls at your own risk, pass through those tolls without paying those tolls. The only thing is that you might get a little blowback from the security people over at the toll booths.
They might attack you.
But technically, they can't do anything to you. Legally, they can't do anything to you. They can call the police. The police will come. The police aren't going to do anything. Because technically, the toll booths aren't even really legal. So they're taxing you for driving on a toll road. They're not taking care of the toll road necessarily. It's almost as bad as any other road. And you're not even supposed to be paying that. And another interesting tidbit that you guys might enjoy, it won't be too much longer because I know Brittany wants to get back to her list. The Mexican people will sometimes come as a group and physically demand that the tolls be shut down. How crazy is that? You'll see a group of people coming to the toll booths, kicking the people who work there out, kicking the security, the guys with the big guns, kicking them out. Because the big guns, technically, they're just for show. They can't be shooting you for not paying the toll.
Yeah, that's another thing I was going to say, too. Is that you'll see, like, a bunch of, like, people who look like cops. We're not even sure it's
They're not.
cops.
No, they're not cops. They're not
They
cops.
look like cops. They got these gigantic, like, guns. Like, I don't know, like this big, these like scary looking guns. Not talking about little pistol guns. We're talking about like gigantic guns.
You're talking about military
Like
grade weaponry standing at these toll booths. They're private security, but they can't do anything to you as far as shoot you. They're just there to intimidate you. Maybe they're there in case a band of people comes and tries to rob the toll booth. At the end of the day, you got these big guys and girls standing around with these guns. Power to the people, Lunar. Lunar. Right, they will come. The Mexican people will come. They'll be like, get the heck out of here. They shut the toll booths down and they let all the cars through for free, the way they feel you should be let through. So another interesting tidbit about being over here in the tolls. But the tolls are serious though. You're spending $10, 500 feet later, $40. What the heck's going on? By the time you're done with your trip, you spent $100 in tolls. You drove for 3 hours. It's crazy.
Don't we have a subscriber on here? Watched his YouTube video and he was saying that him and his family were like attacked because of the toll.
Yes, and I don't remember his name. But yeah, there's an activist out there. I don't remember his name. I subscribe to him, and because he has some very interesting videos. He lives in Mexico. He lives in Querétaro. I wish I could remember his name right now. Maybe somebody, if you remember his name, if you're watching, drop it in the chat for us. But anyway, he documents his travels from Querétaro, and he doesn't pay the tolls. He drives right through. He apologizes to people. Sorry, forgive me, but you shouldn't even be doing this. Drives right through. And one time, the security at one of the tolls, they took the pole that he drove through, the poles that allow you through, and they flung it at his vehicle. The security guy, I'm sure, didn't realize it was going to bust his window.
Yes, that's him. S-C-I-M. Yeah,
is that his name?
That's the guy.
S-C-I-M?
That's the guy, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's him. Oh, he watches him too.
Yeah, I'm sure a lot of people. Well,
Yeah.
He's got a lot of
Yeah.
big subscriber base.
Yeah.
But yeah, so they broke his window. His family was in the car. He got pissed naturally, right? But at the same time, I mean, you're ruffling feathers. So you're tipping everybody in Mexico. And you're paying
everybody.
You're paying every single day. There was days in the United States where I could get by never spending a dime. But here, all right, as far as his channel name, if we can't find it right now, I will put it in the chat of this video after this live.
Is this? No, it's not it. Gavin Seam.
Gavin, yes. Thank you. EHC.
I'll put in the chat. Put in the chat.
Yeah, I got it right here.
Oh, no, so I can put in the chat for everybody to...
It's on video, huh?
Oh. Well, it might be hard for them to see it.
Gavin, Gavin, Seam, Seim. Thank you, EHC.
Thank you.
No doubt your comment helped Brittany find it. But yes, he documents. Check his channel out. He's got a lot of stuff on there. That guy's tough, man. That guy's tough. I don't know how he has any hair on his head with the way he lives. I don't know how he has hair on his head. If I lived like that, I would be bald and like a scared chihuahua. Let me tell you.
Okay, number 7. This is actually something that we're starting to notice. Hi everybody, Gavin Seam, I love that guy. Yeah, he's great, very great. Yeah,
he's good.
Yeah, he's good.
And if you haven't seen his video about how they broke his window at the toll booth, check it out.
Flights back to the U.S. Now this is relative, of course, in what month? I watch his channel all the time. Oh, great, that's awesome, very good. The next one, number 7, flights back to the U.S. are expensive depending on what airport, what city, and what time you, what month or what season I guess you're flying in, of course, like everywhere. Right. I'll give you a little quick story. Not really a story, but we had a death in the family, and I wanted to fly back to New York.
This was just the other day.
This is just, well, like last week.
Last week.
And I was looking up flights back to New York. And I mean, for Joe and I to fly, for the two of us, it would have been about $1,500 US.
Right, and it's not always that expensive, but like Brittany said, it depends on where you're flying from, where you're going, and the time.
Hi, Retired Life.
Oh,
Hi, Ernie.
Ernie from Retired Life in Mexico, No Bull. Greetings, my friend. Thank you for being here. Very happy to see you. Guys, if you haven't checked out Ernie's channel, Retired Life in Mexico, No Bull, I'm sure every person in the chat has, or in the watching has seen his channel, but if you haven't, you have to check that channel out.
So yeah, the flights can be expensive. Like we said, $1,500, maybe sometimes even $1,600 for the two of us round trip to fly to New York. So when your interview with Ernie? Oh, hi, Pedroza Travel.
Oh, Pedroza, welcome. EHC, when's your interview with Ernie? We actually had that interview already, and we're waiting on Ernie's end in order to do whatever magic he has to do to that video. He's gonna edit it and all that stuff. Yeah, it was a fantastic time, man. He is a cool dude to hang out with. Very, very happy to and privileged that we could be on his channel. But we're very much looking forward to seeing it too. Can't wait. And welcome again. Welcome to everybody who's here. Thank you all so much for being here. Very happy to have everybody here. Pedro, by the way, we have people. We just recorded the interview, which should come out soon. Thank you, Ernie. Yes. And guys, in case you haven't noticed, Pedroza Travel, he's over here in the chat.
Hi, Pedroza.
Check out his channel. Very extensive stuff he has on his channel. Very cool stuff. We got Pedroza, we got Retired Life in Mexico in the chat. Make sure you check out their channels if you haven't.
So do we? Oh.
We're looking forward to it, Ernie.
Awesome.
Hopefully by the end of the week, Ernie says. Yep.
Yeah.
We're very much looking forward to it. Such a good time. Such a good time.
Mexico's fun. Yeah.
Absolutely. Anytime about the shout out, and Mexico is a blast. Definitely.
Did you have anything you want to add about the flights or no?
Back to the flights. No, not really.
So we're gonna move on to going back to the flights. You guys flying out from Morelia to New York City. We do. I'm not sure it'll be Morelia. One of the reasons why we like Morelia is because it has an airport. You know, it's a small airport. We flew out of it in 2022 in August.
And it was good.
And it was good. I like the airport. It's very small, but it's very easy, like, to get. It's like one level. Like, you just walk in, do that, and just walk in. It's not complicated. But that being said, when you go into smaller airports, for example, La Paz is another small airport. It's more expensive to fly out of La Paz than Cabo San Lucas. So it's like that in the U.S. too. Same thing, pretty much. So that's something you might want to keep in mind. Another thing, talk about the airports. I will answer your question. Flying out of the airports is that, for example, if you're flying from Morelia or San Luis Potosi, you, as far as I know, correct me if I'm wrong, you cannot get a direct flight from those cities, in a lot of cities in Mexico, to New York. Now that's just an example to New York. Wherever, I don't know where if anybody wants to share where they're from, we can talk about that too. Or what state you live in. But you would think a major city like New York City, it should be easy to get a direct flight out of. No, no. Mexico City, you can get a direct flight out of. Guadalajara, if you fly out of Volaris.
Is it direct?
Yeah,
no.
You can. You can get, not all the time, because your mom did it. His mom did that before.
Okay.
A direct flight, I think she said, from Guadalajara, but I think it depends on the day.
Okay.
So it's, you know.
It might not be a constant thing, maybe.
Yeah. And do we plan on flying out of Morelia to New York? We will have to see. We are planning on going back to New York. Unfortunately,
not permanently, just on a trip.
Unfortunately, we weren't able to go to the funeral
last week.
It was just too expensive and other reasons. So we didn't go, but we are planning on visiting our family and friends back in New York sometime this year, to answer your question. So we don't know if it'll be for Morelia or if it's probably Morelia. I mean, it is. We are about 4 hours from Guadalajara, 3.5, 4 hours. So that would be a bit of a drive, and then that costs money to get over there. So by the time we do that, it's kind of like, are you really saving money? So we'll have to see. Yeah.
At the end of the day, just remember, this is one of the reasons why you might not want to come here. If you have, I think Ernie mentioned it in his last live yesterday, in fact. Keep in mind that when you live in Mexico, you have to travel back to the United States. And depending on where you're living in Mexico, that is going to directly impact how much money you're spending on a daily, weekly, monthly basis, however often you're traveling. So keep that in mind. That's why it's on the list, because if you have family back home and you want to see them often, we had to make a choice last week. It's like, do we want to spend the $1,500 just to go there for 3 or 4 days? You know what I mean? You're put in a position. So depending on how life's going, depending on how finances are, depending on all that stuff, that's why this might be on the list. We got family home who we miss very much. If we could see them every weekend, we would. We can't be spending $1,500 every weekend. So,
no. I can't see the live chat. How do you?
If you want to see the chat, sorry guys. If you want to see the chat, you just go like that.
Okay.
Sorry guys. Give us a second
guys.
here.
Yeah, it doesn't work. I tried to do that.
Yeah, it's strange.
If you guys are chatting us, we cannot see it right now. Chat hidden. Okay, no, it's not.
Hey guys, do us a favor. Hit us up with a message in the chat if you can. We want to be able to see if we can see it. I think we're having a glitch over here.
Yeah, because we can't see how many people are watching right now.
That's strange.
Yeah, it is. It just like is the internet good?
Should
if you guys
fine.
can see or hear us, please comment in the chat if you can hear or see us. Sometimes the internet's not so great.
So you know what? It looks like we might be having a glitch. I'm going to hop onto another device. I'm going to let Brittany start off with the next question on our list, with the next thing on our list. And I'm going to hop onto another device just to see if I can see what's going on. So you want to pick up where we left off?
Okay, you're sure? I don't know if everybody's watching.
I'll tell you in a minute.
Okay. So, yes, talking about the flights, it's very, yeah, it can be very expensive. Let's see, next one, number 8. A big one, and it's number 8, is most people, and this is really something to really, one of the biggest reasons you may not want to move to Mexico, and that's because most people in Mexico do not speak English. And I found this very interesting because Mexico is a neighboring country of the United States, so you would maybe think or assume that, oh, it's right nearby, people must speak English.
All right, so we're still on.
Oh.
People were commenting that they can see and hear us.
Oh, should I turn this one off?
No. Keep that on.
Oh.
And if anybody's in the chat, I'll see you hopefully over on here, and we can answer it from my other device.
Okay.
Please speak to the internet quality in Morelia. Okay, that's definitely, I'll put that on the list, and we will get to that, Lunar.
Yeah. So this is a big one, and it's very, very shocking that I found that most people in Mexico don't speak English because it's a neighboring country to the U.S. Let me give you a little story. Hang on one second.
And I just want to say, I'm checking on the chat right now. We have Pedroza saying that you won't have to worry about getting lost in the airport in Morelia, which is 100% right. Pedroza will be in Baja this weekend. Oh,
nice.
Man, this guy's going everywhere.
He has a life.
That is fantastic. You're going to get cheaper flights from Guadalajara or Mexico City from Lunar. Absolutely. Thank you very much for that. 100%. The larger cities have the cheaper flights. It's just getting to those cities. And let's see here. Some good. All right, guys. Sorry about that. Sorry you missed your comments. But go ahead, leave them, and I'll be able to see it on my end. It might take another minute. But I'll see it, we'll answer it from there because we can't see it on the screen.
So yeah, most people, I looked online, and it could be anywhere from 5% to 12% of the population does not speak English. Now, if you're from the United States, you know that people speak Spanish. I mean, we're not fluent, of course, somehow, even though we live in the U.S., but if you're, like, for example, from New York City or Chicago, Texas, California, places like that, yeah, large portion of people speak Spanish. And something that was interesting also, talking about Spanish and English, I wouldn't say that Mexico is a very English-friendly country. and I'll explain what that means. When you go to a store in the United States and you are buying something, let's say you're buying a bottle of tomato sauce or a bottle of whatever you're getting, and you look at the ingredients, usually, I say usually because not all the time, but usually, things are in English first and then Spanish. That's just how things are. When you come over to Mexico, unless you're buying something that's imported, it's all in Spanish. And so what sometimes I have to do, or a lot of the times I have to do, is I take out my Google Translate and then I scan the ingredients. Someone's having a good time.
Everybody's having a good time in Mexico.
And I have to translate what the ingredients are saying. So that might be a little bit difficult. I know, like, for example, a lot in the U.S., for example, at Home Depot, they have Home Depot in Mexico. And you look at the signs, things are in English and Spanish. A lot of the Home Depots, well, all the Home Depots that I've been in, I think have been like that in the U.S. In Mexico, no.
In the United States, because there's so many Spanish-speaking people in the United States, I mean, the last time I was in Texas, my drivers in the Ubers, they didn't even speak English. So many people in the US, so many people in New York who speak Spanish. It makes it very easy if you speak Spanish to get around. You have everywhere, on labels, on signs, this and that. Everything is English, Spanish, English, Spanish. Here in Mexico, only in certain areas, just like Pedroza mentioned in the comments, it depends on where you are. If you're in a touristic city, many people might speak English. Here in Morelia, for example, it might be a little bit harder. Now, we have bumped into plenty of people who speak English here, though. Let me tell you, shockingly.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
But to speak about someone like Brittany, it could get on you. It can cause you to feel frustrated happening every day, in and out, in and out, and out. That's why that's on this list. Because there's certain things, it's the small things that are going to make you leave Mexico. I don't think it's going to be the big things. It's going to be the small things. And that's a small thing that will build up over time. Every time you go somewhere, you can't read something. You have to take your phone out. You have to hope you have internet connection in order to translate what it's saying. Mm-hmm. You're in a store. You want to speak to the person. You don't remember the word. You look for it. The internet connection sucks. So
also, a lot of times when people are speaking, and I want to point this out too, of course people, I don't want to put a disclaimer, of course this is Mexico, their first language is Spanish, so of course I'm not surprised people speak Spanish. It's just I would have thought that maybe more people would be bilingual considering the proximity to the US. And I just want to give you this quick story too. I just remembered, when we were crossing the border, we documented our journey. We drove in our car across the Mexican-U.S. border. When we were, I believe we were in the Mexican side when they pulled us over?
Yeah, as soon as we crossed through
the Mexican side, we got the red light, they pulled us over, so the cops come out, the real cops, the border security people, they came out, and the guy that was talking to me, I think the guy that talked to you spoke English a little bit, maybe. So the guy that's people are speaking to us, the cops speaking to us, they speak zero English. At least they gave us that impression they don't speak any English. Sometimes people do, and they're just too shy to speak it. This guy took out his Google Translate, and it was pretty interesting considering that we were, right on the border. His job is border security. He's dealing with foreigners, and he doesn't speak English. And we had this actually happen also when we were at, which airport was it? We were at one of the international airports going through customs. So you would think people who are in customs, right? This is their job. They're dealing with foreigners. A lot of times, most of the times, Americans and Canadians, right? You would think because their job is to interact with these kinds of people that they would speak English. We've already gone where we've had some people at the airport, remember at the customs, they spoke zero English. I remember we were trying to figure out what are these people telling us? Like they wanted to know these were our bags, our suitcases, remember?
At the end of the day, there's not much more to say about it.
No.
If you're coming to Mexico, try to speak Spanish.
Yeah.
Because it's not going to be the same.
And if you don't like Spanish, do not come here. If you have no intention of learning Spanish, I mean, okay, let me put this way. We have friends who have lived here for years. They don't speak any Spanish, right? That's a personal decision, okay? I'm not trying to put anybody down. I'm not saying that all Mexicans need to learn English. This is their country. This is their language. I have nothing against people who don't speak English. I don't. But I'm just saying that this might be a reason why you may not want to come to Mexico, is if you have no plans. We have friends, good friends of ours who lived here 15 years, 18 years, do not speak Spanish. They are able to get by. But I will tell you this, you will be put into a bubble if you do not learn Spanish. You will primarily be in what I refer to as the English bubble. So some people are okay with that. Some people like the English bubble, and that's okay. But some people don't like the English bubble, and they want to, if you want to feel like you could just talk to people without having to use your Google Translate or something else, then it's really a good idea to learn Spanish, or at least learn basic phrases in Spanish.
And you might appreciate what Pedroza just mentioned. I have experienced that in Europe as well, where customs agents don't speak English, and that is the Eurozone language.
Wow.
Isn't that crazy?
Are you learning Spanish?
Lunar, are you learning Spanish? Yes, we're practicing. We don't speak it well, but we're practicing, and every day when we go out, we speak to people, no matter how uncomfortable that might be, we do it. Just today, we were in the supermarket a few hours ago, and all of a sudden this Mexican woman who worked in the supermarket came right up to us. We weren't even sure if she was talking to us at first. And she just goes, brrr, and she's speaking in Spanish, and we were like, our eyes must have been like this. It was like, lo siento, mi español es no muy bien, nosotros practicando todo un día. I forget how to say every day. Todos los días. So we are practicing. We're trying to get there. Each day. So yeah, but that's another thing that could be on the list. This weighs on you. I can't, guys, at night, I wake up. Like, I haven't had a good night's sleep in like 2 weeks, because I will wake up every night. I'll be talking in Spanish while I'm trying to sleep. Like, my brain wakes me up and I'm trying to translate things. It's like, I'm trying to sleep here. I don't need to be talking Spanish right now, but my brain knows it's important, and it's weighing on me that I don't know the language. So, like Brittany said, if you want to be here, you better like Spanish, because you should learn it. You can get away with not doing it.
You can.
But you will be in a bubble.
Yeah.
You're going to miss out on most of what this beautiful country and the beautiful people have to offer.
Yeah.
So I recommend learning it.
And I also want to point out, it's a good reason to learn Spanish. For example, when you go to a lot of like museums or things like that, or zoos.
I'm sorry. Pedroza is funny. He says, that is great. You're in a good spot because it's survival. So he's right.
Yeah.
We're forced to learn it.
That's one of the reasons why we wanted to come to Morelia, because we didn't want to be in a bubble. Right. No offense to anybody who's in a bubble. We love you. But we wanted to learn Spanish.
And the next thing that Pedroza says is, you will be more respected. Oh, he says, ¿Cuánto cuesta? ¿Dónde está el baño? And you're good. That's very true. How much is the bathroom? And you'll be more respected if you learn at least some Spanish. It shows respect to the culture, definitely. Absolutely, Pedroza, 100%. That's why we're here in Morelia, like Brittany mentioned, because we don't want to fall into that trap of not learning.
And our friends are teaching us words along the way, too. We have tons of bilingual friends here in Morelia, and they're real patient with us, and because they know what it's like to learn another language. They had to learn. They didn't have to, but they learned English, so, which is very kind of them. Anyone who's in Mexico learning English, I think it's a really, really great thing. And I think anyone who's an American, Canadian, whoever, whatever your nationality you're from, learning Spanish, coming to Mexico is a great thing too. We have nothing against people who aren't bilingual. Nothing against anyone like that. But it is good to, at the end of the day, we're trying to say, is you may not want to come to Mexico is if you have no intentions of learning Spanish. You may not want to. You can get by, like we said, but you won't be able to read things. Signs on the road are in Spanish. The police officers, that's a big thing too. The police officers, in our experience, right, have not been bilingual. I think none of them. I don't.
But you know what? That might be to your advantage, because if you do get pulled over and they don't know what you're saying and you don't know what they're saying, they might just be like, "Have a nice day." In Morelia, Pedroza says, in Morelia, you have to learn. In other places like Mexico City, you will find they will go to English. But that doesn't help. Exactly, it doesn't help. If they go to English, it will not help. If the menus and signs are all Spanish, you have to learn. Absolutely. Now, someone mentioned the other day to us, they asked us, Cindy K, I believe, asked us, can you get by in Morelia without learning Spanish? You can.
Yeah.
You can. Mm-hmm. This is not a touristic place.
No, there are expats though here.
There's some expats here. But it's not going to be, you will be, I just want to get back on that bubble thing. You're going to be contained in a bubble. You will not understand the culture. You're not going to get to know the people here. Can you survive? Yes. You can go to the store. You can point to things. You can learn how to use gestures. You can do it. It'll suck though. And you're not going to get to know the beautiful people. You're not going to get to know the culture. Try to learn that language.
Yeah, because another thing that happens a lot of times is if you don't, we have what we call translators, right? So if we're talking to someone who doesn't speak English and we have no idea what they're saying, then it kind of does get annoying because then you feel bad, like, oh, I'm putting this person out because, you know, the translator, because they're having to translate for you what you're saying. So if you can be self-sufficient, if you want to be self-sufficient, you don't want to depend on somebody, you don't want to depend on a translator app, learn Spanish. It'll help you out a lot. It'll really improve your life. And I think it's also good for your memory too.
So I just want to say, Lunar Eclipse mentioned, had a question. Can you compare SLP to Morelia, likes and dislikes? I got that on my list here. We will touch on, I'm writing down the questions as we go. Anything that is asked in the chat, we will touch on at the end of the live. So why don't you move on to the next one? Okay,
so we all understand that most people in Mexico, the majority, do not speak English. Okay. Number 9, and this is a big one too, to me, I think. Topes and the road conditions. Now, we all know that in the United States, the roads are not always in the best condition, especially, I mean, I grew up in the rural country, right? So I'm used to dirt roads and things happening and stones on the road and forests and all that. But in Mexico and here, generally speaking, the roads have not been that great.
It's going to be the little things where if you come here, you're going to be like, I want to go home. Those topes, that's part of those little things. You'll be driving. They're not always painted. They don't always have signs letting you know. And for anybody who doesn't know, a tope is a huge speed bump, right? Some of them are very aggressive. And some of them are fine. You go over them like nothing. Some of them are very, very aggressive. And you'll be driving, you'll be like, boom, boom, boom. And
you can hear it.
And hear it, feel it. And when you go boom, like the 10th time that day, because they're not painted, you can barely see them, they blend in with the road, you might be like, I'm out of here. So it's serious. Like, this is going to affect your car, it's going to affect your life, it affects every Mexican person here.
Yeah.
It is common that you hear a car go boom, and everybody's going about their day, because that's how they force you to stop here. The topes are here instead of putting stop signs. And in fact, it's safer, right? Because you can't blow a tope. If you do, you'll be shot out to, like, you know, middle of space. But, you know, it comes at a cost. You have safer roads in that regard because you have to stop, but at the same time, you might be breaking up your car.
Another thing I want to point out is this is one of the reasons why I was worried about taking our car, because we do have a very, very, very low car And I remember from Mexico, from the other trips, that the topes are there. Now, I wanted to point out that in certain parts of Mexico, this is not a negative, this is actually positive, the topes are not as bad. In Morelia, there are tons of topes and they are very high. But if you go to a city like we were in La Paz, right, the topes weren't really that bad. There were hardly any topes.
Yeah.
In La Paz, Baja California Sur. And if you, San Luis Potosí, great roads, terrible drivers, but great roads. The roads are really great over there. We heard this because I think they said the president is trying to become, the president, the governor of San Luis Potosí wants to run for president or something like that.
Yeah.
So he's trying to improve the roads.
So apparently the governor, if we remember correctly, in San Luis Potosí, is trying to run for some big, some big position in government. I don't want to. Yeah, I don't remember.
I thought we heard president. I think.
So he's building up San Luis Potosí and their infrastructure and their roads and all that stuff. Their roads are so well maintained.
Well.
It is ridiculous. Again, Brittany said the drivers are another story. But we got some comments I just want to say real quick. Pedroza Travels calls topes the sleeping policeman. Absolutely.
Definitely.
100%. That is very, very accurate way to put it. I never drive at night because it is common that a business will put in a random tope and you can't see it at night.
Wow.
Fantastic reason to not drive at night.
Yes.
If you're not worried about cartels or anything, if you're not worried about danger other than, road conditions, road conditions alone are a good reason not to drive at night in Mexico.
Definitely.
Do you drive do you drive a low clearance car or SUV? As Brittany just mentioned, we drive a Prius, so it's a low clearance car. There are a lot of low clearance cars here though.
Let me give you an example. We're trying to get up into our apartment has a driveway, a garage. It's called a garage. So
No, don't even bring that up because that's a completely different issue.
So you may have a hard time getting in garages. It depending on if your car is low, is what I'm trying to say.
No, the garage was built wrong.
But I'm saying, well, that's the point. Well, that'll be the other thing we're talking about. But yeah, you may have a hard time going on certain roads. For example, the Prius. I get very nervous with it going to Pátzcuaro because it's very, very bumpy over those roads. Yeah.
Yeah, Pedroza mentioned it is interesting because in Mexico they still have cars that we don't have in the USA. It's true. Oh man, we've seen Chinese cars here.
JAC, Jack.
It's called a Jack.
We call it Jack. I don't know how you say it.
Yeah. But they have those here. And yes, you see a lot of old cars here. Trust me, low clearance cars are normal here. If you're smart though, you will get a high clearance car.
Yes.
But they're normal.
Highly recommend you get an SUV or a truck or something that's not low.
But you can get around with low cars. It's just that you're taking
a risk.
And that risk may cause you to not want to live here. Straight up. Because you hit enough topes, you can be like, I'm done.
Yeah.
I'm done. It's the little things that build up over time. What do you have next on the list?
Okay, so number 10. And this is one that I think is most people are familiar with this one, but I'll just talk about it anyway. Limited job opportunities. It can be hard to get a job here. So that's kind of a general thing. We'll explain. So most jobs in Mexico, no disrespect to Mexico or Mexicans that are working hard, because we respect everyone that's working, helping, taking care of this country. Let's say I want to go get a job, right? Let's say I spoke fluent Spanish. I wanted to get a job. Perfect scenario, right? Let's say I spoke perfect Spanish and I want to get a job. Well, I would be making pesos and I wouldn't be getting, how do I say it? Good.
So, all right. So us being Americans, when you work online, if you're fortunate enough to move to Mexico, it's very likely you're going to have a job online. Because if you don't have a job online, if you work here for a company, you're going to be making pesos. Now, if you have your own business here, you'll still be making pesos, but you might have a little bit more of a handle on how much money you're bringing in, because if you were building your own business here, chances are it's probably going to be a lucrative one. You're not gonna go out on a limb and build some business that's not going to make you money. Maybe you build a hotel or something like that. You bring some of your American money over here, you get a little bit more for your money, you build something that can help sustain you and your lifestyle and help the economy here, right? But if you're not making US dollars, you're making pesos. So you better be making a ton of pesos. And if Brittany wanted to go out and get a job right now, she got her papers, and they said, yes, you can go work here. You're going to have to find a place that will be willing to hire you.
And you speak Spanish.
Because very likely the people who you want to maybe work for, they're going to be hiring Mexican people, as it should be, right? As it should be. This is majority of people here are Mexican, so you're very likely they're going to be sticking to hiring Mexican people. And if you do work here, you're going to be getting paid pesos. Now, there's a huge topic as far as what Mexican people get paid. We're not getting into it. It is not a lot of money. Blanket statement. No. We'll just put it like that.
No disrespect to anybody who's working in Mexico.
No, there was no disrespect whatsoever. Oh. So, it's not a lot of money. Are there Mexican people who make a lot of money? Absolutely. Yeah. But a majority of people, they're making minimum below average wage, right? So if you try to work here, if you come here to this country from the United States, you're not going to be happy with the job situation. You're going to need an online job. Not need one, but very likely you're going to want one.
One of our good friends, she's Mexican. She said to me that there are no part-time jobs here. That's what she said to me. She flat out told me there are no part-time jobs here. It's full-time, 8 hours a day. And I just wanted to give everybody, just so everybody can get an idea of what we're talking about. One sec, we're going to say something.
Yeah, while you're looking that up, we have lunar eclipse. Yes, but that is why Mexico is affordable for many Americans. Absolutely right. Absolutely. Because you're bringing your American money here and it goes further. Even with the bad exchange rate, it's still going further. Yeah. And Pedroza Travel mentioned minimum wage in Mexico is 18 USD a day.
They get paid a day here, not an hour like in the US.
Right. And so maybe Pedroza, John, it must have gone up since the last time we checked, because maybe last month we checked with our friend who lives here in Mexico. She's a native Mexican. I think she said it was like $10 a day.
Yeah.
Now, it also depends. There's a whole scale of how this stuff works. That's why we're not getting into the
details.
Fine details, because that's a whole nother thing altogether. But
or unless you have a business. We have a friend who's American. He's living in La Paz. He has his own business, and he's able to do that.
Right.
If you have your own business, and depending on all, I would also say your location, because your location is really important, I think, and also what you're doing. And now this could be a negative considering if you don't have an online job. If you are not retired, because if you're retired, yeah, it's easy. If you're retired, I'm just gonna say, I think it's easier if you're retired because if you have the Social Security, whatever, or pension, and you get that monthly. But when you work online, like for example, I work online, I could wake up tomorrow and lose my job. I mean, that could happen to me in the U.S., happen to me in Mexico. Difference is, in Mexico, I can't just wake up and go job searching.
I lost my job.
Yeah.
Once we got here, I lost one of my jobs.
Yeah.
I was told I had a secure job before we left the United States, and then on the way here, lost the job. So you have to try to be resourceful. You have to know where your money's come from, and if you don't know where your money's coming from, you better find out where your money's coming from. So yeah, you'll be making pesos here, and it's not going to work out. Pedroza mentioned that his brother is in Mexico and works for Delta and gets $40K a year. That's considered a very good salary. Absolutely fantastic salary here. That is fantastic.
That is great. So, as Pedroza mentioned, there are exceptions. We're just talking about, generally speaking. Everything we're talking about is relative and is general. Like you can be like his brother and get a good job in Mexico. And if you're bilingual and you speak Spanish, that is really going to help you out in life here.
But this is serious. This is very serious. I've had people, I don't know about you, I've had people who say, I want to leave the United States and live in Mexico, because a lot of the time you're going to hear people say things like, oh, Mexico's great, it's so cheap over there. Some people will hear that and they'll think, oh, it's cheap in Mexico. I want to go to Mexico. I'll go to Mexico and get a job. No. It's cheap there if you take American money with you. You can't be coming from America, from the United States, coming here, and then looking for a job here thinking you're going to be getting a ton of money living it up here. I know a lot of people know that, but some people don't. I've had people say, I want to move to Mexico. What job can I get there? Not what you should be looking at.
And actually, even legally, we got told when we got our temporary residency, we cannot legally work in Mexico unless we had paperwork. Papers from an employer, I believe she said, at the INM.
Yeah.
So for the first, how long are you temporary resident? A few years of you being here, unless you have that paperwork and you have all that stuff from your employer or whatever, you cannot work in Mexico.
Pedroza mentioned Social Security for elders in Mexico is $300 a month, but foreigners can't live off that.
No.
You can absolutely, I mean, $300 a month is, that's very low.
To even find rent for $300 a month.
Yeah, we got friends who are over here who are paying $250
or $200.
It's $200.
Yeah, I think it's $200.
Wow, they're paying $200 USD a month to live over here in Morelia. That's a really decent price, and they got space for it. They got a decent amount of space. They're doing better than if they were in the United States, because you can't get anything for $200. You can't get anything. You forget it.
No.
But at the same time, keep in mind, they're having trouble getting work.
Yeah.
Part of the reason is because one of them is Russian, and she can't work here. So keep that in mind. But yes, $300 for an American, very difficult. Because if you want to live here for $300 a month, forget it. I mean, you will be living in probably a very bad Mexican neighborhood. Not to say that the neighborhood itself might be bad, but the infrastructure, you might not have paved roads. You might be living completely Mexican, and a lot of people from the United States won't be able to hack that.
No. And also, let's say you work online, this is something to really think about. You may get tired of working online. I'm gonna be honest, you may miss the interaction of going out to a physical job. That's something to really think about. You may miss that. I mean, I'm gonna be honest with you. I work online, and it's not always easy to want to sit in front of a computer and work. Sometimes I'm a social person. I love hanging out with people, and I talk to people online, but it's not the same thing as going out to work and socializing with people. So that's something that you may want to really, really think about who you are as a person. Do you enjoy working online? Because unless you're retired, like I said, there's a very good chance if you're not retired that you will likely be working online.
So I just want to say welcome, Skip.
Hi, Skip.
Skip guy. Well, actually, you guys can see his comment. We can't see it. So yes, Skip, welcome to the chat. Welcome to the chat. Happy to have you here. And I also got Delta West. I got your question. I wrote it down, and we will address it at the end of the live, my friend, about the healthcare. EHC, thanks so much for doing these lives, sharing your experiences, and answering our questions. It's so valuable to us in our planning for our residency. It is truly appreciated. It's a privilege. It's a privilege to be here.
Yeah.
And we're happy that we're able to benefit you guys, and we're very grateful. We'll do more lives in the future. We'll continue to do so. And look forward to it.
I'll jump to the next one if you want me to move on.
Yeah.
Number 11 is the infrastructure infrastructure, can't say that word, and safety standards. You want to explain about that?
Yeah, so the infrastructure, I'd love to talk about that. As far as the infrastructure, if you're coming from the United States or any other very well developed, you might hate the United States for what it is, but when you come to Mexico, you can see a difference. And that's because the United States infrastructure is very, very well built up. In Mexico, again, Mexico is huge, and every city, every town, every state is different. But by and large, the infrastructure, it's not that great. I remember when we were in Querétaro, every time it would rain, there was a sewage pipe that would start spraying out sewage. That was like maybe 10 minutes from where we were living. The entire area stunk. Apparently that was going on for quite a while because I spoke to the guy who we were renting from about it. And it was going on for quite a while. And it's like, in the United States, very unlikely to see that happen for, maybe that would go on for like a week at the worst. You know what I mean? Power outages, I'm actually shocked at how well they do as far as power, restoring power. Back in the US, I worked for the power company, and I'm very shocked. Mexico does a great job when it comes to power. As far as the roads are terrible. Apparently power outages do happen very often, but from what I can see personally, they've been restored very quickly.
Also, you may be walking, as you've seen in of our other videos that we did, you could be walking into a hole and not know it because there's no caution. You could literally just fall into a hole.
Right. If they have construction, I know this is all kind of blurring the lines of safety and infrastructure, but it's kind of tied in. Yeah. You might have construction, like a huge ditch in the ground. They put one little cone, like it's not even a large cone, it's a mini cone, and they put it near the construction site. Like you could literally fall in there if you're blind. That's what it is here. Another thing, water, gas, right? Throughout Mexico, as far as I know, maybe in big cities in Mexico, like maybe Mexico City, maybe they somehow have an underground system, but I don't believe so. You're not getting water all the time, and you're not getting gas fed to your homes underground. Again, that's most of Mexico. Am I wrong? Maybe a couple states, a couple places, maybe. Can't guarantee you. But you're mostly living off of propane from a tank, like at your barbecue grill at home, just a bigger one. And then you're getting water pumped into your home with trucks. So very, very different type of lifestyle. And like I mentioned in a video the other day, the sewage smell, right? You'll be walking around Mexico, you'll be smelling sewage. Not in all places, but a lot of places. You smell sewage. And that is going to come down to the infrastructure. A lot of things are not as developed and up to date and clean and up to US standards. So as far as infrastructure, that's that. And I think you probably had some stuff to say about safety.
You touched on a lot of
okay.
I think. Number 12, the culture is different. You came up with that one.
Yes, the culture is different. I just want to say, lunar eclipse, kind of good though. Forces you off your phone and makes you pay close attention when walking. Absolutely. You are crazy if you walk around here on your phone. That's a no. You can die. In the United States, yes, you got people falling down manholes. You got people walking into other people's basements, like falling through the traps and stuff. Yes. Here, you will break your ankle, fall down a hill, and roll into a ditch, and no one will know where you are. You know what I'm saying? So, I'm really not even exaggerating too much. Maybe just a little bit, but not really. So, yes, it's true. But what was the next thing we were hopping onto?
The culture is different.
The culture is different. So, for example, we'll be there in 2 hours. 2 days later, the guy who was supposed to be there in 2 hours shows up. Over here, there's very little sense of urgency, which is good. You kind of get to come here and chill. When I get off the plane from the United States, I can breathe when I come here. I'm like, The lifestyle is different, the people are different, the culture is different in general. But at the same time, this video is why you may not want to move to Mexico. If you can't leave your culture at home and integrate into this culture, you probably should just go back. Because you're not going to change Mexico. Mexico isn't going to change for you. You can have all the money in the world. Maybe you'll get a little bit better service, but Mexico is Mexico. The people make noise. The people, they're on a different clock. The culture itself is different. Even the tipping we mentioned earlier comes down to the culture. So, why was that pipe in Querétaro broken? Well, someone probably called the city and told them, hey, we got a broken sewage pipe. And they said, all right, no problem, we'll take care of it. 6 months later, still spewing sewage. Very, very different. In the US, I used to complain about a lot of stuff. But when you come here, you're going to see how much different, and in some ways, better the US is. Overall, I love Mexico more. But we're trying to give you a very realistic, honest point of view when it comes to all this.
Number 13 up. Number 13 is kind of relative to where in Mexico you are. Like, a lot of things in life are relative depending on where you are. It can take, if you are planning on buying a house in Mexico, it can take a while to sell your house. What I mean by that, okay, IHEEC is exempt from this. We were told by shout out to Wendy if she's watching, that houses sell in IHEEC. But in places, for example, like San Luis Potosí, where we met with the real estate agent Alejandro, and I believe this is the case in Morelia too. We'll do a real estate tour video, hopefully in the future in Morelia. But it can take a while to sell your house. It's not like a lot of, now this, like I said, take this with a grain of salt. It can depend on where in Mexico you are. But I believe that in a lot of places, it can take a while to sell your house. Your house could be sitting for 2-3 years, waiting, just sitting.
Right.
So that's something that you may want to really think about. And if anybody is coming here planning on buying a house, I recommend that, yes, you really think about where do you want to be, because you may think, oh, okay, if I buy a house, maybe next year I'll sell it, I'll flip it. In Mexico, in certain places, it's not that easy to just, I'm going to sell my house. So you may want to think about that. If anybody who's watching this live has experience with selling a house in Mexico, let us know. How long did it take you? Was it easy to sell your house? So everybody can benefit from that. Yeah,
that's definitely true. The whole economy here is different. The whole economy is different. Things run differently. The other day, wild as it may seem, Brittany actually saw somebody delivering milk. And our friend was like, yeah, we're behind on some things over here. No disrespect. Hey, listen.
In a pickup truck.
Listen, delivering milk in a pickup truck is what the United States used to do, right? Back in the day. They're still doing it here. Things are different here. You might buy a house here and be like, oh yeah, I'll buy it, I'll live there and I'll sell it. You go to sell a house, depending on where you are, it might take a while to sell, like Brittany said. Yeah. So, but hey, you just got to know that coming in.
Actually, I thought of a 14th reason. Sorry guys, I know we said 13, but I thought of a 14th reason. This is actually a really big one, actually. I think we mentioned this in our other videos. Mexico is a very cash-based society.
Yes.
I had this happen when I go out. I like to pay with things with my credit card, with my American Express. And you can, I'm actually probably gonna make a short on this actually, where you can use your American Express card. You can use it at McDonald's, Walmart, any places that you have in America, the United States, like Office Depot. I used it at Office Depot today. We used it at Walmart. You can use it at big grocery store names.
Any like chain stores,
yeah,
you can use them.
Burger King, Pizza Hut, Domino's. You can use your card. But let's say you're just walking around and you want a drink, you want a soda, you want whatever, and you want a bag of chips or whatever. You better make sure that you're carrying change. I mean, yeah, you can get a Visa, use your Visa because that's also more widely used. But a lot of times they're using change here.
A lot of time they're using, change or cash.
And that you better have the change that you need because they may not always have change.
Right.
Or they may give you a hard time about wanting to give you change. Like they'll give you like a little attitude.
Right.
They don't want to go in the cash register and try to find change.
So I was at the gym earlier today. I gave the guy a 500 peso bill, right? To pay for my monthly gym membership. It was 420 pesos. He had trouble giving me the 80 pesos change. So this is common, very common, and it is frustrating because in the United States, I never, ever, ever carried cash, ever. I'm using my credit card, I'm getting my points, I'm getting $500, $600 back at the end of the month when I use my points. Ugh, man. Now, this might be able to be alleviated if we were able to get a Mexican bank here, which we plan on doing, getting a Mexican bank account in the future. Watch out for that video. And getting a Mexican credit card.
Yeah.
A lot of the pain will be alleviated if we do that. But until then, we're walking around with all this money.
Yeah.
And even once we get a Mexican credit card, we're still going to be walking around with money.
Yeah.
Change. Your pocket's heavy. It's annoying. And it's like...
Loose change, coins.
I've really, literally, because of that reason, I've thought, do I want to be here? I have. This was last year. I'm over it now. I'm cool with it. It took me a while to come to terms with it. But some people...
I'm so annoyed with it.
Some people may never come to terms with it. And that might be a reason why you don't want to be here.
I'll give you an example. We pay our rent with actual cash. Oh, sorry.
Skip. Mario and Luigi would be happy living in Mexico with all those coins. Straight up.
Yeah, they
Straight
would.
up.
They would.
They'd be very happy.
If you love paying with coins and hard cash, this is the place for you. We pay our rent with cash. What does that mean we have to do? Every time we have to go drive to the bank. Fortunately, Mexico does have a lot of banks.
Yes.
You don't have to worry about that. There are a lot of banks.
Yes.
And withdraw money. You have to go to the ATM machine and get money. I'm gonna be honest with you. It does get annoying. It does get annoying having to do that. And then they put a minimum amount, the maximum amount that you're allowed to even get out of the ATM.
So since we don't, again, this goes back to us not having a Mexican bank, right?
Yeah.
We're going through some struggles, and that is we're stuck only being able to take out a certain amount of money every day from the ATM, right? My bank in the US where I'm taking my money only allows a certain amount also. So it's not just the ATM's fault, it's also my bank, right? If I had a Mexican bank account, I could take out as much as I want, go inside to the teller, give me my money, no problem. Another hardship here, it might be to you or not, whatever. But another annoying thing is until you have a Mexican bank account, you're paying at the horrible exchange rate every time you go to the ATM. You're getting a bad exchange rate. You have extra fees involved. So it's just an annoying headache that you maybe don't want to deal with. So
this is something that we learned though, that you can reject the conversion fee, right?
Yes. When you go to ATMs, I'm going to say a majority of them they're going to say to you, and we should do a video on this, they're going to say to you, would you like to accept the conversion rate that the bank is giving you? But the way they say it doesn't make it sound like it's an option. So you click that you'd like to accept it when you can decline it. The way they make it sound is if you press decline, your transaction is canceled. That's not the case. So when you get offered a conversion from the bank, even if it makes it sound like the transaction will be canceled, decline the conversion, you'll be getting apparently a more updated, more reasonable conversion if you decline it. So that's
I learned that on a Facebook expat group chat. So if you're not involved in Facebook expat group chats, they will give you information. So depending on what city you want to be in, I'm in multiple expat different cities that we've traveled in. So go join those groups; they'll really help you out.
Yeah, and we're traveling around, so we're involved with a bunch of Facebook groups. Because if we go to Guadalajara, we're doing a video there. We need to know some information or whatever. We can bop in and out of those. We got Lunar Eclipse bringing up a very good point. Carrying cash and paying cash is a pain, but at least the government isn't tracking your every purchase. That is a fantastic point, 100% right. And something I'd like to mention is the fact that, at least over in the United States, they want to move to this digital currency thing. Keep in mind, if you don't have a bank here, you might be subject to however that digital currency ends up working. So I don't know can't read the future, right? But if all of a sudden they don't want to allow you to have money in Mexico, I don't know if that's possible, but that could be something. So if you come here, get a Mexican bank account.
Yeah.
I'm talking to myself. Get a Mexican bank account, Joe, as soon as possible, because you can move some money here and at least you can have a little bit of your eggs in different baskets, so you don't have to worry too much about, all of a sudden you being denied what is rightfully yours, unfortunately.
Another thing about Mexico, I believe, correct me if anyone who's watching if I'm wrong about this, but I believe that a lot of people don't seem to have PayPal here or some other things. So like in the US, we use a lot of Zelle to send money. I'll give you an example. Today we had to give a friend, we owed her some money, and she didn't have a PayPal or anything like that. So we had to go to the bank, go to the ATM, get the money, and then again, it can be a hassle.
Right.
Because you can't just say, oh, I'm going to Zelle you some money, I'm going to PayPal you some money, I'm going to Payoneer you some money, or any of those other apps. Most of the time, I'm going to say. So just be prepared for that. Make sure, if you're planning on really living here, and you really seriously think about living here, get a bank account like we're saying, because I'm going to give you another example, another experience. I was sick when we went to Laki Paki. I didn't feel well enough to go to the store. So maybe you saw Joe's live about that. He faced some hardships going to the store. And because we have Uber Eats, they would not let us use our American credit card to get groceries. You can use your American credit card. You can use your American Express or whatever you have to get stuff from a restaurant, but we've noticed when it comes to grocery stores, like say Chedraui, something like that, they want you to have a Mexican credit card. And unless you have that Mexican credit card, you cannot get groceries. Based on our personal experience, if anybody has had a different experience or knows a way around this, please share with us.
Yeah, so you might be able to order Uber Eats using your American credit card. Typically, like a MasterCard, maybe American Express will work with Uber Eats. But if you want to order food from the grocery store to be brought to your house, that's another story. They don't accept American credit cards in all of our experience. This was last year, the year before that, and this year. So just a big heads up. That's why you need a Mexican credit card. You need a Mexican bank.
It will help you out.
Your life will be so much easier, because here in Mexico, you're doing a lot of manual labor just living, right? We're going to the grocery store every 3 days.
Getting water every 3 days.
You need water, you need fresh food. I eat a lot of fruit. I got to go get fruit. If I had a Mexican credit card, I'd have that delivered to me every 5 minutes. If we were doing the, if we had a Mexican credit card, we'd be getting the water delivered, all that stuff. So it just makes your life easier.
If anyone knows, like we said, a way around until we get the Mexican credit card, please let us know in the comments, because we would love to hear from you guys.
And Lunar Eclipse brings out a great point, and they're going to put expiration dates on your money to force you to spend it or lose it. I've heard that too. That is when the digital currency rolls out. So I've heard that too. Yeah, it's a scary time. So that's why I'm saying, if you're not on board with certain things, try to have your eggs in different baskets. Believe me, if I could snap my fingers, I'd have everything I own here in Mexico right now. But my fingers don't work like that. So, but is there anything else on your list?
That was mostly it. Does anybody have any questions before we close this live? I know we've been on here for an hour and 40 minutes. It's been really long.
I have some questions on the list here.
Oh, sorry, we do.
Mr. Rasta Cayman, bienvenidos, mi amigo. He says, hello, friends. Just came to say hello and good night. Okay, linda noche, my friend.
Buenas noches.
Talk to you later. Thank you for being here. And I wrote down 3 questions. If anybody else has any questions, feel free to leave them in the chat right now. We'll get to them now. But the first question was, how is the internet quality in Morelia? That's going to be that's a very general question, so we can only give a general answer is what I'm trying to say. Our internet quality is fantastic. Usually, the more money
Sometimes, when watching TVs, it is not that
We're
great.
doing this live.
We are able to do this live. Okay, so it does depend on what you're using the internet for.
So, as I was going to say, our internet quality is fantastic. What Brittany's talking about is it doesn't reach the other room. Now, you can literally just get an extender, or you can get an extension cord and move the router closer to the other room, and the problem would be solved. So that's why I'm not claiming this as being an issue. The internet is subjective because depending on where you are, depending on what cable is running your internet, Morelia is a big place. Usually the more money you throw at something, the better it's going to work.
Yeah. So there's different internet packages that you can buy, and that package will give you a different speed. So right now we don't pay for the internet. We don't pay for the internet right now. That's included with our rent. So whatever speed that the owner of this house has it set to is that package or whatever they have is what we're getting. But if you want to get like a faster speed, better quality, you could pay more for that.
They have it here. The internet is here in Mexico, right? Not a shock, not a surprise to anybody, but wherever you stay, you will have to be very specific about how is my internet going to be here. Huge suggestion. So to put it bluntly, we've had 0 problems with internet. It's been fantastic when compared to a lot of other places that we've been. When we were in Tlaquepaque, the internet was not good a majority of the time. Querétaro, the internet was horrible.
We did have problems in Morelia last August, but that was in a different place.
That was in a different house, but there weren't major problems. It was just a big house.
It was a big house.
So
it's all relative.
Again, it's all relative, but the internet exists here, and they do very good with it. Mexico in general does very good with the internet. Okay, we got another question here that I'll write down. Okay, so as far as internet quality in Morelia, I would say, from our experience, fantastic. We go to a store, we use their internet, fantastic. Home, fantastic. Restaurants, fantastic. Everywhere has been fantastic. Really no issues to write home about.
I have had some problems where I've said internet connections unstable sometimes.
When
I was working.
When you were working?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sometimes. It hasn't been a big deal.
So this is new to me.
No, I have had it. Actually, yesterday I was sitting out here. Remember, I was saying like by this router, I was saying it says your internet connection is unstable. I've had some problems with the internet. Not been major. And like I said, like, if you're trying to watch a show, it is really. I'm being honest with you. I don't know if Joe doesn't think of it that way, but I'm not trying to be complaining and all that. Just being honest with you guys.
Well, that's what they're asking.
Yeah, I have been annoyed. That's why you have to come to Mexico with a lot of patience with the internet. Like I'll be watching a show or just like start like freezing. It just freezes on me, and I'm like, what's going on? Why is the show not playing?
But you got to keep in mind though, she's not understanding that the router's far away. If you move the router closer, it gets better.
It was all part of the internet.
Which is how I fixed it the night she was referring to. Something I want to mention is the last time we were in Morelia though, the other year, last year, there was a strike. The Internet Union, I forget the name of the company, was on strike, and they weren't doing maintenance on the internet. So our host from the Airbnb that we were staying at was like, look, I want to fix your internet, but I can't because they're on strike. And I was like, what is this, America? You know what I mean? So that happened. Just throwing that out there. But after they came back from their strike, after like 2 days, they fixed the internet. No problem really, other than the fact that it was a huge house and it needed an extender to move that internet around, which happens no matter where you are. You need extenders.
I remember our family members that were with us, they had to buy data.
Right.
Work, so, yeah.
All right, so that takes care, hopefully, of your question as far as internet quality. I'm sorry I didn't write down who asked that, but I know it was asked.
Thank you for asking.
Yes, and I hope that we answered your question. SLP compared to Morelia.
We might do a video on that. That might be too much to do in a live.
I'm going to write down to do a video about that to get the detail, but just to answer your question in case you stayed for that answer, SLP was much more well manicured. The infrastructure was much better. The water seems to be on par with SLP.
Yeah.
Very, very clean considering.
Don't worry, we'll do a video on it.
Yeah, but I just want to give a little bit because, you know, maybe they waited for the end of the live for this. But we'll do a very specific video coming up. And another thing was, it was a lot less Mexican feeling. So the overall culture in SLP seemed to be more of like an American or European culture rather than a Mexican culture. Joan Lynn says, I should open an electronics store. Hey, if you can, by all means, you should do it. And Skip wants to know, how many states have you already visited, and if you plan on continuing to discover more states. Brittany will work on that.
Yeah.
While I continue to answer the questions that we have on here. So yes, in a nutshell, Morelia, much different world than when compared to San Luis Potosi. San Luis was a beautiful place, absolutely beautiful, but different. Morelia feels like you're in Mexico to me. San Luis Potosi feels like you're in another country. It did not feel like Mexico to me. But we'll do a very specific, and it's much more expensive in San Luis. Oh, wow. So much more expensive. You go out to dinner and one person's bill will be like $40 and they got like a burger and a soda. Mind blowing. But we'll save the intimate details for that video.
Okay.
I got one more question.
Sorry.
Then we can. No. Actually, I got two more questions. Okay. We'll get to that question in a minute about the states. As far as the healthcare, is the healthcare in Morelia up to date? Is the healthcare in Michoacan up to date like in Jalisco? 100% transparent. So far, we have not had to use any hospitals for any other reasons other than like just feeling sick or whatever. We haven't had to delve into that world yet of healthcare. If problems arise, we're kind of running off of, okay, we go to the hospital and we give them our credit card. That's where we're at. But we have plenty of friends who are here. And from the questions that I've asked, the healthcare system in Morelia is very, very good. Just like in many places in Mexico, you just have to make sure that you're doing private. Now, if you're not doing private healthcare, you're at the mercy of the free healthcare, the systems healthcare. I don't remember how it's called, but that can go very well, or it can go very bad, depending on who's there at the time that you're getting worked on, that who's working on you, where you're going. So, but as far as I know, very up to date, very modern. Everything from what I've been told because I've specifically asked these questions too, is fine here. Nobody's had any serious problems, but that's a great question, and I will do extra research in order to answer that question in the future. Thank you for that question. The next question is, do we use a VPN? Yes, we do.
Yes.
We use what?
Surfshark.
Surfshark VPN. And so far, Surfshark VPN has been very good for the most part. Keep in mind, depending on the VPN company you're using, and also depending on the device that you're using, you may have cookies embedded in your devices that prevent the VPN from working properly. Keep that in mind. But barring those problems, it's been fine. VPN does what it needs to do. We can get certain videos, we get certain movies, we can get our internet in English, which is the most important thing, and I would highly recommend it. I used code
Gary?
Gary, thank you. I used code Gary, Gary. That is a YouTuber who has doesn't matter what channel he has, just use the code Gary. That will give you, the last time I checked, and the last time you used it, it will give you the absolute best deal you can get using this particular VPN company. That's all the questions I have on my end. Do you want to hit that states question?
Okay, so how did this have you already visited? Now, when we say visited, I'm going to tell you how many we've actually been in. And when I say been in, I mean we've actually like stayed overnight. We've actually been in there. We've been there, not just like drove. Okay, still on? Okay.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh, 7 together. We've been in 7 since we've been married together. And I'm going to tell you what they are. So, obviously, Michoacan is one we're in. San Luis Potosí, Baja California Sur, Guanajuato, Querétaro, Nayarit, Jalisco, and my very first day to Mexico when I was 10 years old that I visited. I did not stay overnight, so I didn't count that in the count, was Quintana Roo, which I'm probably saying wrong.
Oh, right.
And I think you were also at Cancun and Quintana Roo.
Right.
So we've both been in Quintana Roo. And I did not count the states that we have driven through when we came here. I'll tell you what states we were. When we crossed the border, we were in Tamaulipas and Nuevo Leon. Those were 2 new states for us. Would I recommend you travel to Tamaulipas right now? No. Okay, we're on. Okay, are we on?
Speaking of internet problems, we just lost you guys twice in a matter of, I think, 3 minutes. So this might give you an idea. I'm pretty sure we're still on. Can everybody hear us and see us? I just shot a test message into the chat. I can see my messages. Looks like we have 12 people on here. Can everybody hear us and see us? We have a decent connection right now. Just let us know in the chat when you can, if you don't mind.
So we've actually, since we've been married, we have stayed in and explored 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 states together, not counting the ones we drove through, which were Tamaulipas and Nuevo Leon, and Quintana Roo, not counting those.
And to answer the end part of that question, I'm not even sure if you guys are still there because I don't see any comments, but our internet is cutting out like crazy.
That happened.
Leave it for the live. Other than this, I haven't had any issues here yet, but how many states have we already visited? We counted that.
If you can watch us and hear us, can you just put in the comments if you can hear us right now so we know if we're coming across?
Yeah, let us know if we're coming across, guys, in the comments. And if not, I guess you can catch up on the live later on once this posts. But do we plan on continuing to discover more states? Yes, we definitely do. Many day in Houston, we have internet problems. EHC can hear us. Okay. Skip, you have problems over there. Laura, okay. Thank you so much. I don't know how long we cut out there, but back Did everybody hear the states Brittany was mentioning?
Michoacán, San Luis Potosí, Baja California Sur, Guanajuato. Okay, Guatemala, Querétaro, Nayarit, and Jalisco. We have really explored.
Sorry, guys. We cut out again. We'll be ending the live soon because I don't know what's going on. But we mentioned the states that we have been to.
7 states. Yes, 7 states that we have actually really visited. Not driven through.
Thank you, Skip. Thank you.
Do we plan on traveling to more states? Absolutely. We actually are. We're going to be doing a video. We plan on visiting Mexico City, which I am super excited about. We have never been to Mexico City. Obviously, everybody's heard of Mexico City. It's the capital of Mexico.
Yep.
20 million people, about that many. And so I'm very excited, and we will be taking you guys along with us. We will be leaving actually end of this month.
Wow.
Going.
Time flies.
Yeah.
Time flies. But yeah, very excited for Mexico City. And
that will be a new state for us, Mexico. That will be a new state for us, Mexico State.
Yeah, we keep cutting out, guys. So, but stay tuned for some more lives, some more stuff. Thank you guys so much for being here. We had a great time with you all. I'm very excited to see that video. Amazing restaurants and museums in Mexico City.
What do you guys look for?
Oh, what do you guys look forward to the most in Mexico City?
Actually,
Any museums?
my friend actually today, I asked her because her cousin's from Mexico City, and we will actually be traveling with one of our friends who used to live in Mexico City for years. So she will be like our tour guide, showing us around. My friend actually sent me today an article about 20 best things to do in Chapultepec Park. Hope I'm saying that right. So maybe we'll go to Chapultepec Park. We'll see some things. I don't know if we're gonna see it, but I would really love to see the pyramids. I've heard that they have these big pyramids, and she showed me a picture. So maybe we'll do the pyramids. I know that Mexico City has the Natural History Museum, so maybe we'll hit up that museum. If anyone has suggestions or has been to Mexico City and you think there's something that we should really show on our channel, let us know. We won't be in Mexico City for long, only for a week. So we won't be able to do, see everything in Mexico City, but if there's something that you really think we should definitely see, let us know in the comments.
Yeah, we'll try, guys. We're going to try to do what we can. We're going to be putting out a community post asking you guys if there's anything specific you want to see over in Mexico City. So once we pop out that post, let us know, or, you could drop comments here too. And we're going to try to get to it.
It will be a very exciting video because it will also be our very first time going on a Mexican bus. So we will show you what a Mexican bus looks like. So I'm super excited to take you guys along with us.
Yeah, Laura says pyramids for sure.
Yeah.
So that's something Laura would love to see also. Guys, we are so sorry, but on our end, we keep cutting out. There's something wrong either with my phone or with the internet. I don't know. But we've been on for almost 2 hours, and just honestly, we probably would have stayed on longer because we love talking to you guys. But we probably should get going because of this internet thing. It's just going to keep happening. So thank you, each and every single one of you, for being here. We are so happy to be able to talk to you. And thank you all for who communicated through the chat, gave such fantastic input, fantastic comments. Thank you, guys. And we look forward to talking to you guys soon.
Thank you all for your patience with the internet and for staying on for about 2 hours watching this.
Sí. Buenas noches, mi amigos. And we just got kicked off again. Nos vemos.
Adios.
Adios, everybody. Adios. Good night, good night, good night.
Good night, good night. Good night, Laura. Good night, Skip. Good night, everybody who else is watching.
Good night, EHC.
Bye. Have a great night.
Have a great night, everyone.